a bullet that was bitten by a radioactive philosopher. So so the bullet didn't want to eat anyone.
I think typically when programmers have to make art, they end up doing something like stick figures and stuff like that. Hi gamers and developers, and welcome to another GDT vlog. On today's vlog, we will talk about Team 2 in Game Maker's Toolkit Jam of 2023. We had already one team interviewed, so yeah, you can check this out. So this is a Team 2 video. And if you didn't see the last video, I will explain to you again what is the Game Maker's Toolkit, but it essentially is an annual game making marathon where the teams have to make a game based on a theme in only 48 hours. So this year's theme was Roles Reverse, so a very interesting theme. We have one of the members of Team 2 here. And I'll let him introduce himself. But first, I want to tell you that their game is called Dr. Fishenstein Betrayal. And queuing on to the team, Paul, can you please tell me your name and your role?
Yes. So yeah, my name is Paul. I was working on my team as a programmer and also ended up doing a bit of art, which I did not expect at the start. We had Lucas and Diogo on the programming, Alexandre helping me, doing the main of the art, I was helping him, and Inês helping out with the audio and anything we needed written because he's a writer. Although, yeah.
So, do you want to tell me about your game, Paul?
Yeah. So the theme for the game was for the jam was roles reversed. So we had a lot of fun ideas. Controlling the bullet that is fired from the gun instead of controlling the gun when it's fired. And we had a fun idea about having a bullet that was bitten by a radioactive philosopher. So so the bullet didn't want to eat anyone. Uh, so we had some ideas at the start that we really liked. But the one we ended up settling on was, what if the fish were the ones doing the fishing? Well, what if you played as the bait instead of playing as the fisherman? And that ended up being what our game is about.
And I think it's a very fun theme. You guys will see it in a minute when we start playing the game. So yeah. So how did you actually come up with this idea? Because you mentioned the bullet, but how did you remember? Yeah, I'm gonna be the bait for a fisherman.
Not sure exactly, actually, but because we were looking at the theme roles reversed, and at least compared to other themes that have happened in other years, I think this one was a bit tough, at least for me personally. I'm not sure if the rest of the team agrees. And we started trying to find ways how we could reverse roles. Some ideas were more of picking a genre and reversing the role of one of the characters, or reversing the role of the player with the enemies or with some of the mechanics of the game. For example, instead of doing a platformer where instead of you playing as the player, you played as the final objective that was trying to chase the player down. That was another one of the ideas. And in the end, we had a couple of ideas. Like I said, we had a bit of trouble because none of them was like usual. None of them was quite perfect. Some
Yeah.
were easier on the execution, or we had a better idea on how we could execute, but didn't fit the theme quite so well. While others maybe fit the theme better, but we were having some trouble figuring out how to execute. So I don't know exactly how this one appeared, but we ended up liking it enough to pick it as the main theme.
Hmm. I think you chose well because this one is a fun game, and I must say that we had two programmers working on the art for this gem, so you and Alexandre. But I must say that the art is really good. I don't have any problem with the art. I think typically when programmers have to make art, they end up doing something like stick figures and stuff like that. But I think you guys did a good job because the art is lovely, and I think it fits well with the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, so instead of talking about the game, let's actually play it.
Yeah. So at the start, we ended up having also this fun cutscene sort of introducing the story. We ended up putting into the story a bit more of the roles reversed theme because uh, we technically control the bait as Dr. Fishenstein, and his goal is to get fish to use as parts to build this monster, and use that monster to fish humans that have been annoying his experiments since forever. I ended up doing those cutscenes, which is just a still piece of art that the camera moves around, but it still sounded like a fun way of showing some sort of story. And also
Hmm.
because I was going to refer this earlier when I was talking about the team, but we had a writer, but the game was so small that we could barely put a story in. So it was also a way of trying to have some writing needed for the game.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask this as a side note. If you noticed, there was an evil laugh during the cutscene. I must ask, was it one of you guys that actually did the laugh?
Oh no, it could have been, yeah, it would have been a fun thing to do. But I believe all the audio we have, we got it from somewhere
Hmm.
online.
Okay, okay, okay. So now I'm gonna ask you. You have all these types of fish, different fish.
Hmm.
So, what is the objective of the gameplay? Do you want to give the better fish to Dr. Fishenstein's, and then the smaller fish to the fisherman?
Yeah. So then at this point it starts to enter into some parts that we ended up not executing or that we ended up changing from the original idea. So the main goal is to give Dr. Finchstein the fish that it shows on top.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of the black type, 5 of the red type, and 8 of the orange type, because those are the parts that it needs to build this monster.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main objective. To add more to this story of uh, he doesn't like the fisherman, he's trying to destroy them or annoy them, or we added also the fishermen that are fishing in the general area. So they, if the fish bite their hooks, they don't go for Dr. Fishenstein. They
Hmm.
don't count essentially.
Okay.
And one of the ideas was to have, if you see, there are some green fish that look rotten and dying. So one of the objectives, and they don't give any points. So one of the things is try to give the rotten fish to the fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
But there's currently no incentive to do that, and those other fish hooks end up only serving to if you get a bit overwhelmed. Oh, and I died here. If you get a bit overwhelmed, to try to free up a bit of space. Um,
It helps, yeah.
yeah,
Because I was noticing that. So when a fish enters the screen, they don't leave unless you actually catch them, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I see. This is one of those games where it gets harder. So easy to understand but hard to master, I think. So I think it's actually a good idea for you had 48 hours. That's not a lot of time. I think you did a good polished game. I think it works. I think it matches the theme. So yeah, good job for that.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you now maybe about the gem itself,
Mhm.
because for the viewers back at home that actually like to listen to our vlogs, also to know if they should participate on the gem, uh, what did you think of the Game Maker's Toolkit gem of this year?
Mhm. I think it worked pretty well. I participated in other years, and this is a gem that's been going on for a while, and it's very well organized. At this point, what they can control, they are doing very well. Uh, it's for those who don't know, it's the biggest gem on itch.io every year, and every year it gets more people, so it gets even bigger.
Hmm.
And the site usually goes down when people are submitting because there's really that many people trying to submit. But that's not really something on their control. And even to their credit, they have stipulated in the rules that you have I don't know if it's 1 or 2 hours If you have any problems with your submission, you can still try to submit in that period as long as it's technical issues and not actual development. And I
Mhm.
think that's very good on them because they already know that something like this might happen and they're prepared. So overall, I think the organization is very good. The theme, even though personally I found it a bit more difficult than other years, I still felt like it was very interesting. So yeah, it's definitely a jam that I would recommend for people to participate.
Yeah, I think like you said, this is one of the biggest gems. So if you're looking for a gem to participate, you should go to Game Makers because it's so big that you can actually meet a lot of people and play a lot of games. So if it's, for example, your first time experience, you're gonna have a good time. If it's not your first time experience and maybe you're more of a pro, you're still gonna have a good time because it's that big of a gem. So yeah, you would recommend this gem for other people, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So my last question for you is: do you have any advice for the people back at home?
That's a good question. For this term in particular, I don't know if I have any advice. More like gems in general, which is try to have it at least the base of your gameplay as early as possible. We had that, and it allowed us to um, balance quite a bit because, for example, at the start, at the midway point, we had maybe only one kind of fish. We knew we wanted more kinds of fish, but we only had like one kind of fish, and they were all the size of this black one. That's the
Oh,
size of the
okay.
black one, and there were a lot. There were a lot more. So the game was very different. And personally, I enjoyed it like that, but I also enjoy it like this. But what we found was that it was very overwhelming, and so we had time to tune the spawning and to really understand how we could make this easier for other players, especially more inexperienced players. One thing that unfortunately we could not figure out was we have an issue, for example, to showcase to players why they can only send to Fishenstein's Hook.
Hmm.
That was something that we struggled a lot because even with the signs, it's not something that's entirely intuitive, and so a lot of people were not understanding that. And some of the comments we got was that okay, this was not very clear. I only understood this like way later, or some of people the way
Yeah.
they talked. It was clear that they didn't know about it even. So we were thinking of either simplifying that or trying to think of a better way to showcase it. But in that regard, we ended up failing and not having time to do it because we didn't find the right way to properly
Yeah.
inform the player of that. But yeah, I don't think I have a particular advice for this jam. Yeah.
That's fine. I think any advice for any gems is good. So yeah, I think this one is about scope. Of course, if you scope your game correctly to the time you have, you'll probably have a better time because you can actually make all the adjustments and things that you wanted to do. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's good advice. And I think we're done for today. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming, of course, Paulo.
No worries.
And for you guys back at home, don't forget to watch our other videos. Don't forget to check our social media. And like I mentioned, this is Team 2 for the Game Maker's Toolkit Jam. We have another team. We have two other teams, but this one is Team 2. You'll have Team 1 probably published by then when this comes out, and then Team 3. So, yeah, thank you for watching and keep developing. Bye.